Hi, this is Rev Ed with today's Back Porch Devotional from John chapter 12, verses 44 to 46. And Jesus cried out and said, "Whoever believes in me believes not in me, but in him who sent me. And whoever sees me sees him who sent me. I have come into the world as light, so that whoever believes in me may not remain in darkness." We're looking in the week leading up to Christmas at statements about the purpose for Jesus coming. And here he makes one of the most important ones. And I think it's entirely appropriate that on this day, which is the day we acknowledge the winter solstice, the shortest day of the year, the one with the longest night, at least in the northern hemisphere, it is on this day that it's entirely appropriate to recognize and celebrate that Jesus is the light of the world. And he makes an important point. He says that he's come as light so that those who believe in him might not remain in darkness. And what that means is anyone who does not have Jesus Christ in their life is abiding in darkness, whether they realize it or not. I imagine that one of the challenges for people who are born blind is that they don't know what the world looks like. All they can see is what they can't see. The world is permanently dark for them, and they get accustomed to it. I can't even begin to imagine what it would be like for such a person to have their eyes opened and to actually be able to see. But that is exactly what happens when we put our trust and faith in Jesus Christ. We see the world as it really is, and through Christ we can see the world as it was intended to be. Jesus is the light of the world, and when we put our trust in him, we can see the truth and the goodness and the beauty of God the Father. It's an important point. Jesus reveals the Father to us. You'll remember in the 14th chapter of John, Jesus tells his disciples not to be afraid, that he's going to prepare a place for them. And he says, "And you know the way to where I'm going." And Thomas speaks up and says, "We don't know where you're going. How can we know the way?" And Jesus says, "I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me." And Philip says, "Lord, show us the Father, and that'll be enough." And Jesus says to him, "Philip, have I been with you all this time, and you don't really know who I am? If you have seen me, you have seen the Father." If you want to know what God looks like, study Jesus Christ. Get to know Jesus Christ. Let that light penetrate your heart so that you can see him for who he is, see God for who he is, and then see the world as it really is, but also as it was meant to be. This world is a beautiful place, but is broken, and it is flawed, and it is full of grief and sorrow. And in the resurrection of Jesus Christ, we have the promise of the remaking of the whole world. This is what it means for Jesus to be the light, that we have hope even on the darkest of days. We can have light in our lives even when darkness seems to be encroaching all around us. This is the fulfillment of the word that was given to Isaiah, where he wrote, "The people who walked in darkness have seen a great light. The people who dwelled in a land of deep darkness, on them has the light shined." We have to understand that the world only begins to make sense when our eyes are opened through faith in Christ. C.S. Lewis put it really well when he said, "I believe in Christianity as I believe that the sun has risen. Not only can I see it, but by it I can see everything else." Trusting in Christ opens our eyes to the reality of the world, to a proper orientation of our lives to God and to one another. And it unlocks the door to all of the hope and fulfillment and joy that is in store for those who belong to God. This is the promise of the Christmas season, that light will flood our lives, and that through us, that light can touch other people. Jesus said to his disciples in the Sermon on the Mount, "You are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hidden. Nobody lights a lamp and then sticks it under a bushel basket, but puts it out in the middle of the room where it gives the whole room light." If you have the light of Christ in your life, then you are to carry it to whatever dark places the Lord is sending you. Do not be afraid of the dark, for everywhere the light touches abolishes the dark. Jesus is the light of the world, and we celebrate that at Christmas and throughout the year. May you know the peace and the hope and the joy of that light this day and every day. God's blessings be upon you.